Madam President, it is 6 o'clock and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. So I will call this meeting to order. Have we started the recording?
Yes, we have.
Okay. All right. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The Notice of Non-Discrimination Rights and Protections to Beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. Okay, Mary, can you do roll call?
Yes. Abington,
Delegate present.
thank you. Avon,
Delegate present.
Alternate present.
thank you. Bridgewater,
Present.
thank you, Bob. Brockton,
Delegate present.
congratulations. Just so members know, as we're going through the roll call, Yolanda has moved from at-large to the delegate from Brockton.
Welcome to the new role, Yolanda.
Duxbury,
Delegate present.
thank you, Allison. East Bridgewater. I know Peter Spagone is on. Let me just do this. Thank you.
raising
His
his
hands
hand.
is up. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Thank you, Peter. Yep, thank you. Easton. Halifax. Hanson.
Present.
Thank you, Tony. Kingston. Don't see Val.
You forgot Hanover as well.
Oh,
Not that
sorry,
they aren't here,
Hanover.
but
Yep, thank you very much. Hanson, Tony, Kingston. I don't see anybody here yet. Pembroke.
Present.
Thank you, Becky. Plymouth, I know that Lee had some conflict. Plimpton is not yet represented. Stoughton, I don't see them here. West Bridgewater, is Mike here? I don't see that Mike has been on. Whitman,
Alternate.
thank you.
Present.
Okay, both Dan and Noreen, thank you.
Okay.
And then the at-large is now vacant, so there is a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, we're gonna take a moment at this time. Is Val on the phone or should we put this off for a minute?
Can we put this off for a minute until Val does come?
Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll put that off for a second. And we'll move on to the consent agenda for the September 2024 meeting minutes and the environmental notices, the MEPA notices that were in our packet. Do we have a motion to approve the September 2024 meeting minutes and the MEPA environmental notices?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thanks, Frank.
Second that.
Thanks, Noreen.
Yep.
Roll call, Mary?
Yes, Abington,
Abstain. I wasn't here last meeting.
thank you. Avon,
Accept.
Bridgewater,
Yes.
Brockton,
Accept.
Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater.
I'll have to abstain too. I wasn't at the meeting.
Thank you, Peter. Eastern's not here, Halifax not here, Hanover's not here. Hanson,
Accept.
I don't think Kingston's here yet. Pembroke.
Kingston's here,
Oh, thank
abstain.
you, Val. Perfect. Thank you, Val. Pembroke,
Accept.
Stoughton's not here, West Bridgewater, Whitman.
Accept.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, now that Val's here, why don't we take a moment to honor Paul Basler's retirement? And I think Val was gonna speak to that for us.
Yeah, is my friend Paul here?
He is not on.
Okay. Well, he's been the DPW or Streets, Trees and Parks guy in Kingston for most of his professional career and put in over 25 years of service and has left behind a trail of friends and people that really respect him. And he's just a joy to work with. And we're going to miss him an awful lot in Kingston. the former town planner, Tom Bott, came to our planning board meeting on Monday night and read a really moving speech about Mr. Basler that included that he's a hero without a cape and an angel without wings. And I think that's well said, and we're gonna miss him.
It sounds like he has done tremendous service in Kingston, so I just want to congratulate him on his retirement and his years of service. So, Mary, do we have a letter that we can send in these cases?
You most certainly can, and I
Okay.
will work with Val to make sure it gets to his house. So
Can do.
Right. Unless somebody else wants to talk at this point, we would move on to our financial, September financials with Brenda.
Okay. Okay, financial reports for September 2024. At the end of September, the budget shows a deficit of 1.26%. The reason for this is that the various admin, insurances, and the audit costs are paid early in the year, which makes the spent to date percentage high. By the end of the year, this percentage will even itself out. We actually have undesignated surplus funds at this time in the amount of $31,048. A statement of expenditures report shows total expenses for the month of $208,567.42. Cash position report shows income for the month at $492,542.68. Disbursements for the month were $698,326.40. Total cash available at month's end was $1,312,003.09. OPEB account had a gain of $18,275.24, bringing the ending balance in the OPEB account to $1,237,883.50. Budget resources report. Cash receipts being $492,542.68 brings the total year-to-date receipts to $1,517,637.23. AAA report. Outstanding balance for AAA pass-through programs was $663,199.10. Outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman programs was $217,639.46. This brings the total outstanding balance for all AAA programs to $880,838.56. Volunteer transportation account beginning balance was $161,188.49. Restricted fund payments to volunteers were a total of $973.64. Donations received were a total of $196.90, bringing the ending balance in the fund to $160,411.65. Statement and activity balance at the beginning of the month was $157,992.91. Receipts for $8,350, bringing the total receipts to $25,550. Expenses were $5,074.55, bringing the total expenses to $24,539.91. Ending statement balance was $160,445.88. Budget reports. The spent to date percentage rate at the end of the month was 26.26%. The ideal percentage in the third month of the fiscal year would be 25%. So at month's end, we show a 1.26% deficit. Page 1, expenditures at the end of the month were a total of $785,486. Budgeted funds remaining at the end of the month were a total of $2,206,112. Page 2, there's been no change in income at this time. Projected grant income at the end of the month remains at $2,991,598. Page 3, no change in pass-through income. Projected pass-through income remains at $1,996,327. Lastly is the list of combined accounts payables and cash transfers for the month. And that's the end of the fiscal report for September 2024. Does anyone have any questions?
If
Okay,
there are
thank
no
you.
questions, then do I have a motion to accept Brenda's September 2024 financial report?
Motion to accept.
Thanks,
Second.
Noreen.
Second,
Thanks, Frank. Roll call, Mary, please.
Yes, Abington,
Accept.
Avon,
accept.
Bridgewater,
Accept.
Brockton,
Accept.
Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater.
Accept.
Oh, see, Halifax is not here. Hanover, I don't see here. Hanson,
Accept.
Kingston,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
Stoughton's not here, West Bridgewater, I don't believe it's here. Whitman,
Accept.
that is unanimous.
You're muted, Becky.
Thought I just clicked that. Sorry about that. Moving on to the OCPC staff report. The septic program report will be given by Sean Bailey.
Yes,
If I could, just before then, as many of you have seen, we're just again changing the format. Please read through the staff report. I know John Costa has done so, and he had some questions for me. The staff report is certainly populated with so much information. But in today's presentation, we have Sean and Elise talking about some of their programs. And with that, please, Sean, take over from here.
thank you, Mary. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Sean Bailey. I'm a senior transportation planner here with OCPC and here to talk to you tonight about one of our unique programs called the Community Septic Management Program. So right off the bat, some of the benefits for the communities that are involved, first and foremost, providing financial assistance to homeowners who need either a new septic system or a sewer connection. Average cost of a septic system is probably close to $30,000, which many people don't have that kind of money lying around. After they get a new septic system or a sewer connection, their homes will be brought up to Title V compliancy. And for any of you who may not know, when a home is in Title V failure, it is both a health and an environmental hazard. So getting a home a much needed septic system or sewer connection is greatly needed. One thing that kind of separates this program from some others is that the funds are available immediately. After the towns submit requisition requests from the state to acquire some of the funds, it is put into a separate account in the town so that funds can be issued directly to the homeowners, engineers, and contractors. And 3 of our communities, Cohasset, Kingston, and Stoughton, offer sewer connections where available. And here's a list of the communities that are involved and used to be involved in our program. Communities with an orange circle are in the OCPC region. Gray circles are outside the OCPC region. And for the former communities, I know the town of Pembroke still offers the program through their Board of Health. Marshfield, however, does not. Some of the guidelines for the program, first and foremost, if a community wants to borrow a loan from the funding source, which is the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, town meeting approval is required. It does not impact taxes on the residents. It's just a matter of the community needs to be involved and in the know that the Board of Health in the town offer this program to its residents. The communities involved are able to determine some of the rules for the program, such as interest rate and payback period. Majority of the communities offer a 5% interest rate with a 20-year payback period. And a handful of the communities also have application fees and prepayment penalties to deter homeowners from utilizing the program and then selling their homes, avoiding the interests that the towns have to pay back to the state. For any homeowners that are interested in acquiring a loan, there are only 2 qualifications that need to be satisfied. First is that they are up to date on all tax accounts, and the second, that there is proof of Title V failure for their property that needs to be submitted to the Board of Health. And then lastly, OCPC does charge the communities an admin fee for each completed project, which is usually around $400 for sewer connections and $600 for septic systems. And here are the figures for both 2024 as well as the total figures for each community for as long as they've been in the program. And as you're going through that, I'm going to be giving some quick updates for each of the communities. The town of Avon is in the final stages of acquiring the last approvals, for their new loan that passed town meeting earlier this spring. I know earlier it was asked why there were homeowners on the waiting list for Avon. That is the reason why. They do not have any funds currently. And once these funds are in, I will be taking care of every single homeowner on the waiting list. Towns of Cohasset and Stoughton are in the process of acquiring the last remaining available funds for their current loans, and then will need to apply for a new loan with an upcoming town meeting. The town of Hanson recently received the final approvals for their new loan, and I've been working with, I believe, 6 or 7 different homeowners on getting their septic systems replaced. And then the town of Kingston is actually working on putting in a town meeting warrant article for their fall town meeting coming up next month. And that is the septic program in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions or comments for me? Yes, John.
I just have, you've answered most of it, but I'm just curious why everyone hasn't got the funds now. Is it processing or is it timing? What is why is it that the funds aren't available for those homes that are waiting for the services?
It's just unfortunately a timely process to get all the applications in from the town to the state, and then get all the final approvals from the state back to the town. I wish it was a much faster process because I hate having homeowners on the waiting list. But I've been working with the town and Mass DEP to get the final approvals done as fast as we possibly can. I'm hoping to get at least some of the homeowners' septic systems taken care of before the winter flies. I know they are in the final stages. I unfortunately do not have an ETA on when the final approvals are expected to be signed off on, and we can submit a requisition request for the first wave of funds. But I'm working with both the Board of Health and the Treasurer's Office to get this finished as soon as possible.
So is it something that comes up once a year that you apply, or is it an ongoing program when funds get low? And is there a drop dead date amount that they then apply for funds? How does that work?
So usually towns apply for either $400,000 to $500,000 per loan. At any given time, I could have, any given month, I could have 2 or 3 homeowners reach out to me. There have also been some of our communities where I've gone 6 months to a year without any homeowners reaching out to me. Once we acquire the last round or the last bit of funds from a community's current loan, we then work to to prepare a town meeting warrant article for whatever the next upcoming town meeting is. But we can't do that until we receive until we borrow down all of the funds from their existing loan. The program does not allow to start a new loan until all the funds from the existing loan have been drawn down.
Okay, thank you. I do find a problem with that policy, but I understand it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Allison?
Just so I understand, so is typically the Board of Health the point of contact on this for towns?
Yes, the Board of Health does approve, or they are the primary source. They're the party that for each community determines, like the items that I said earlier, like the interest rate and the payback period. Somebody from the Board of Health obviously has to go do the inspection throughout the process of getting a new septic system. They have to sign off on the final inspection. They're the body that receives the as-built plan and releases the certificate of compliance at the end of the project. But yes, the Board of Health is the primary contact for these septic programs.
And it can only be for failed systems?
For this program, yes.
And sorry, just so I understand, each town meeting approves every residence upgrade or just the funds from the state?
Just the funds from the state.
Okay. So you could approve an application anytime throughout the year if we have money?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sean. That's one of those programs that people frequently don't know that much about. So thank you for laying it out and answering some questions.
Yeah, and
You're welcome.
And Madam President, this is one of the reasons why there's sometimes we talk about all the different programs, whether it's the MPO or whether it's open space plan. This one we sort of like, because Sean just automatically does it. That again, thought it was worthwhile to bring this before you. We'll be able to, and I think Megan's going to put something in the chat, just brings you right to our website, which is a great segue into all the work that has been done, again, behind the scenes by Elise Prince and Megan Fournier on our website. So with that, I believe that Elise, you're going to walk us through this.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Elise Prince. I am the Communications and Creativity Specialist here at OCPC, and I am here to give you a communications update. So there are two big topics that I'll talk about during this presentation. The first is the website. We highly encourage, if you haven't been there, to go there because it is a place full of resources. Recently, we just started our website task force within the OCPC staff, and we've met 3 times since May already. We have a member of every department on the website task force because we thought that was important to have each department have a update and check over and audit to see what needs to be updated and what needs to change if there are changes to be made. We wanted to also ensure that all of the information on the website was informative and easily accessible. So getting rid of pieces of older information or keeping it more on the back burner. In the past 30 days, we've had over 2,000 new users. So that's users in general, not just previous people who have come to the website. And then we've also had over 7,588 page views of our entire site as well. Some of the accomplishments of the website task force is having the department pages audited. So this is updating information as well as formatting the pages to have more of a clear and concise pattern throughout every department page. There's also been over 25 new pages added since I've started. So that includes the data dashboard and assessment tool pages, the landing pages for open space and recreation plans, and the landing page for housing production plans. So that's just giving more of a basic understanding and overview of what those are. But then we also have the project pages as well for those depending on the towns. We also have corridor studies, the AAA page with the 2 new surveys that we have out, MBTA communities, grantology, and then regional projects that we're doing as well. We did a report inventory and had all staff review the reports that are on our website. And then we had interns go and find the information and reports that were missing. So they also did a lot of the back end work for us this summer. We also had the interns audit some of the language that's used on the pages so that it's more easily, as I mentioned, accessible for members of the public of all ages of life. They would also help with a lot of things that if there was something wrong or needed to be corrected. Excuse me. So some of these examples are SS4A page, data dashboard.
At least while you're having a sip of water, I will say that these pages have so much data that everyone should click on them if you can.
Thank you. Our Abington OSRP and our grantology, we've noticed that there are so many pages that if you do see information that's missing or if something's not as far along, there's always project contacts for the town itself, but then for OCPC staff to highlight and bring to our attention if we do need to get more information out there. So our strategy moving forward is to continue the redevelopment and creation of pages. We want to improve upon the work that we're doing as staff and you members of the council are doing work in the towns. And then a big project of ours is creating community pages. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for everything town-wide. If a member of the public wants to come or if a member of the town staff wants to come, or even OCPC staff wants to find out information. We want to update the reports page and tagging of these pages. So that's a big project that we're working on. And as I mentioned as well, we're creating website procedures. So putting information on our website, having staff aligned with how it goes onto the website, and then fixing minor glitches. As you've noticed, our calendar page is not working at the moment. So we are hoping to work with someone soon to get some of those back-end glitches working. But again, if you see anything, feel free to email me or Megan. The second piece that I'm going to talk to you about is the OCPC newsletter. So it goes out on a bi-weekly schedule. There is one actually going out tomorrow. It focuses on OCPC content as well as regional content. A lot of the information that is out there are for events, public participation opportunities, and grant information. And this newsletter goes out to over 1,500 recipients. Megan, did I miss anything before we end?
No, I think you covered most of what it is. I mean, I think the biggest purpose of us doing this presentation is, like Becky said, there is a lot of information on our website, and we've been taking huge strides to making sure that we can provide as much information as possible while still offering the opportunity for members of the public and people within our industry to reach out to our staff. So it's very important for us to make sure that this information is accurate. So again, as Elise mentioned, just really emphasizing that if you see something, say something, Val actually noticed something a few weeks ago, it was very minor. Nick's name was spelt wrong on one of the pages. And so, we don't notice everything. So it was really helpful for her to kind of point that out so we could make that change. So again, something as small as a name spelling incorrect is completely fine with us. It's really the purpose of the task force and just everything that we're really trying to do with our branding efforts for OCPC.
And just from my perspective, again, thank you to Megan and Elise, but it's also the team, right? All the project managers have their work to do, but they take the time being on that task force to make sure that it is looked at and, again, whether it's grammatical, spelling, but this is the face, particularly after hours, this is the face of what we need to be doing. So so with that said, I don't know if there's any questions, but I know we'll go right into the next element, and that is another little piece of information about what Old Colony Planning Council does. That's not necessarily in a job description, but we convened this Old Colony Planning Council STEAM, that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. And last week there was it was STEM week, and it was Megan, Elise, and our partners pulled together all the activities from, Stoughton and Avon all the way to Plymouth. And we were able to put this together and then send it out. I think this has a listserv of a few hundred people as well. The feedback that I received from, I was just at the conference in Plymouth, and one of the attendees said, it is the one newsletter that is looked at that she goes, it is just always filled with information. So just again, kudos to not just only Megan and Elise, but all the folks behind it. Charlie serves as an editor to make sure that we're not missing things, and sometimes it's formatting. But this STEAM coalition, it's about 3 times a year. We don't get dollars associated with it, but it's more served as a convener to then make sure maybe perhaps there's some other work that can be done from that. So thank you for hosting this part of the newsletter. And I think the last thing that we wanted to bring up, Joanne Zigman is attending a planning board meeting in the town of Easton and had a conflict, but these have been going out. This is a regional water study. We'll pop that into the chat as well, so you can capture that, but it will be going out in the newsletter tomorrow, this survey. Please share it with all your constituencies, your stakeholders, your businesses, your residents. It'll be important to get some great feedback about this water plan. So all of the delegates and alternates will be receiving just a follow-up, but I just wanted to make mention of that today. So with that, President Coletto. That is the staff presentation.
Thank you so much, Mary. I will note that there is a note in the chat from John Costa about possibly looking at the funding mechanism to see if we can amend the process to make sure that there is some way to keep funds always in the coffer, so they won't have that lag time between running out of funds and getting new funds approved. I don't know if that would require legislative change or if that's a policy with an OCPC. I assume it's a legislative change, right?
It is, and it's one of the things that, as Sean and Charlie will know, so Sean Bailey reports to Charlie Kilmer, but it is, not a transportation related, but still, OCPC doesn't make a lot of money on this. Like, this is not a profitable thing, so it's like an even keel goodwill. So to John's perspective, I mean, if in fact that would be a change legislatively, and we will put that to the legislative committee to have them take up. I think that's probably the appropriate location to advocate.
Yeah, and also I guess we as delegates could, I mean, that's why the legislative committee is there, right? So that we can say, okay, who are our reps and who can we go to and try to get someone interested in spearheading this on the legislative side, so that OCPC isn't the only one carrying water on this. Because if we're serving the needs of our towns, then presumably us and our boards of health would care about it too. So let's, John, maybe we see if we can get that into our legislative committee and out to our state reps to look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is, funny enough, Mary, to talk about the legislative update.
So,
But I think this is going to be about the
it's
pension
about the
money.
retirement legislation, which is still moving forward. That this is the one that we've talked about, is that right now there's legislation, dueling legislation, but the one that is supportive of regional planning agencies, it's moving forward, and we have communication going out to our legislators to get behind what is but tends to be moving forward. So keep an eye out for that information when I send out the email to the legislators. So that's the legislative update on the retirement legislation.
Okay, thank you. And Charlie, are you on the phone?
I'm here. Yep.
Okay, so next new business is election of one community or town with a population under 15,000 to serve as a signatory member on the Old Colony Planning Organization, the MPO. So Charlie, you want to introduce that?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I know all of you are very excited about the buzz in the air about election season and not to be upsold or outdone by any elections that are happening next week. We're having our very own election here tonight, and that's for the Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Organization. And as you know, the MPO, as we call it shorthand, is comprised of 8 members, 2 MassDOT members, Brockton Area Transit, Old Colony Planning Council, the City of Brockton, the Town of Plymouth, and then we have 2 seats that are locally elected subregions that are stratified by population. And that stratification is those communities with a population of 15,000 or greater, and the other one is the under 15,000 population. So what's before us tonight is electing an MPO signatory from the under 15,000, and that's the pool of Avon, East Bridgewater, Halifax, Hanover, Hanson, Kingston, Plimpton, and West Bridgewater. So OCPC is responsible for reaching out to the eligible select board members. And what we did was we sent correspondence to each of those select boards and their accompanying town manager, town planner, town administrator, and OCPC alternates and delegates. And as of tonight, we have 1 nominee before you all for consideration, and that's Tyler Bouchard, Vice Chair of the Kingston Board of Selectmen. Being as that's only 1 person, normally we would conduct a poll and actually vote to elect a candidate, but in this case, it would be an action item to affirm Tyler Bouchard as the preferred nominee, as there's only one, unless we have any other nominations from the floor tonight.
Okay, are there any other of the communities with population under 15,000 that had any communications with your select boards or with your town managers about asking to have your community be on the MPO? Okay, so hearing none, can we ask for approval, a motion to approve Tyler Bouchard, the Vice Chair of the Kingston Board of Selectmen, as the representative of communities with population under 15,000 to be the signatory member on the Old Colony Planning Organization, or MPO.
So moved.
Thanks,
Sec-
Val. Frank, were you seconding?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. I heard you. Okay, so roll call, Mary, please.
I muted myself. Sorry. Abington,
Accept.
Avon,
Accept.
Bridgewater,
Accept.
Brockton,
Accept.
Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater,
Accept.
Hanson,
Accept.
Kingston,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
Whitman.
Accept.
Thank you. That is unanimous.
Okay, so Kingston will be the signatory member on the MPO. So now we have Sean Noel, who's going to talk to our assistant fiscal manager, who's going to talk to us about an OPEB trust report and a vote to adopt the Plymouth County OPEB trust to handle the money that we have for our OPEB, our other pension and employment benefits trust. Is that right? Sean, fix my language.
Yeah, other
Post-employment.
effectively retiree healthcare. So, thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sean Noel. I am the Assistant Fiscal Manager and one of the elected members of the OPEB Trust Committee. The OPEB Trust Committee has met several times in the last few months. As we took a look at, mostly with the express purpose of reviewing any opportunities we have from a asset management standpoint. And in doing that, we presented to the Finance and Audit Committee last evening our desire or our recommendation that we move from our current investment house of Rockland Trust to the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. There were a number of reasons behind this. The things that we were focusing on were simply cost of services, quality of service, return on investment, and one particular thing that we found beneficial was the opportunity to kind of increase our regional footprint and cooperation level by moving to Plymouth County. So as we presented last night, if the chairman could confirm for me that it was a unanimous vote to move forward to move into and adopt Plymouth County OPEB Trust, what we would like to do now is basically call a vote before the full council so that we can begin the facilitation of moving the funds into the new trust.
And also online is Kate Caney from County, Peacock, who would be able to answer any other questions as well.
I apologize. I did not see Katie on my screen.
That's okay. She's as an attendee.
So, I mean, at this point, we can certainly move the vote. I'm here to answer questions, as is Katie. If anybody has any questions about the Plymouth County OPEB Trust or, some of the reasons why we made our decision.
Any questions out there? And can we confirm that the Finance and Audit Committee, I believe it wasn't a unanimous vote to
Yes.
adopt this? Yes.
Yes, Madam President. our committee voted unanimous last night to make the move. And we thought that the committee had done an outstanding job on the amount of money that we would save. So we would all recommend that to you.
Thank you. That was my recollection, but I don't trust my recollection these days. Okay, so if there are no questions, do we have a motion to adopt the Plymouth County OPEB Trust as our Mary,
OPEB
what is
Trust
the rest of
Investment
that?
Manager.
As our asset manager?
Asset manager and fiduciary, yes.
So moved.
Okay, asset manager and our fiduciary. Who just said so moved?
Val,
Val.
Thanks, Val. Second?
Bob Rubin,
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Abington,
Accept.
Avon,
Except
Bridgewater,
Accept.
Brockton,
Accept.
Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater,
Except,
Hanson,
Accept.
Kingston,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
and Whitman.
except.
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and thank you for Katie for coming on to answer any questions. Now we have, the topic is future council meeting discussion items. And this is a chance for us to talk about what we want to put on the agenda for future council meetings. I know that there had been some ideas. Here's some that have been brought up. An update on the regional water study. We are getting to the point where at least a draft regional water study is out there. So I think it would be a good time to have them come back and talk to the group as a whole. Also talking about how the bipartisan infrastructure bill has supported projects in our region and whether there are other grant opportunities out there that we haven't gotten a hold of. The Volpe Center is, so there are notes here. The Volpe Center, if people don't know, is sort of it's almost like a think tank within the Federal Department of Transportation. And there are people down here in our region, a friend of mine as well, who works at the Volpe Center. So there are people that we can talk to. So I see, Mary, is that your note about talking about the TIP and how the increased formula funds have been allowed for more projects, and also talking to Paul Umano about grant opportunities?
I think those were put in as, yes, as side notes. This is sort of like the brainstorming document that we've been using for when council members bring up any ideas. So some of these may come from, either the JTC or MPO, those type of things. So obviously those that were put in here, there are always grant opportunities about the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
And there's also a landing, so we have people at OCPC, and there's also a state landing page about how to access bipartisan infrastructure law grants. So we can maybe highlight those for people. The other topic brought up was road details and whether or not Massachusetts should look again at whether or not road flaggers always need to include police details. Flaggers are a potential road detail instead of police since 2008. Is that true? I don't actually know the answer to that.
Yeah, that came about under Governor Patrick.
Okay, so that is there.
So it's been a while, yeah.
Okay. I don't see it used that much, so I don't know what the issues are and whether or not, Charlie, you feel like a discussion with the council on that would be helpful in terms of how you guys fund projects or how we talk about projects. I haven't really thought about it in a while, quite honestly. DW Field Park Roads in Avon. That may be a panel discussion.
We had, in some of these, John Costa is, I think one of the, what probably would be helpful next time is we say who brought these up, Megan. I'm not quite sure exactly everyone, but we have had some discussions about the DW Field Park when Rhiannon Dugan had presented about the MVP it kind of skirted a little bit, but this is specifically about DW Field roads in Avon. So John, that might be you.
So what, Mary?
DW Field Park Roads in Avon, was that an issue that you wanted us to discuss?
I don't know right now who's responsible for them. Some
Okay,
people tell me Brockton and some say Avon, so I was looking to find out, because that section is deplorable. And
Okay.
it's been like that for probably 15, 20 years.
so maybe that's actually something that Charlie could, or Bill McNulty could give you a call on and talk about
Okay.
how to bring that up as a topic. The next topic was sound barriers along Route 24. And I guess sound barriers in general and what the opportunity might be there under the bipartisan infrastructure law. 40B housing regulations. I guess if we were going to have that as a topic, I would see that as maybe part of a bigger conversation with someone like Jason DeRocher about housing and, you know, how does this mix between everyone's dealing with MBTA, then we have 40B, and then we have you know, the idea of creating more housing choice, housing production plans, and we have the Affordable Housing Act that just recently brought more money in to the equation, or more bond availability into the equation. So maybe that's you know, housing, I think, would be a topic that would take an entire night to even begin to address. And 40B, I think, is one. It's hard to understand 40B without looking at the whole picture in my mind.
Madam Chair, if I could we
Yeah.
just add accessory dwelling units to that conversation too?
Good point, because that is something that is coming right around the corner.
February of 2025.
Yep.
Or the
Prevailing
housing bond bill would be good.
and the housing bond bill is also something that we don't, I think a lot of the smaller communities don't necessarily know how we may tap into that, or how it may be useful to helping us. Alicia, is that what you were getting at?
So if I could on that one, Jason DeRocher had a webinar on the pulling apart what's in the housing bond bill. That webinar, we can share that link with everyone. And while it may not touch upon everything, the accessory dwelling units as Bob had asked about, but again, the housing topic is very massive. So what I would, and from our role, particularly what we get funded to do, are housing production plans. And we've been involved with some of the public outreach as it relates to MBTA communities, where we've been paid by a couple communities to do some forum and do some education, if you will. So
So Mary, maybe the right topic is, how do housing production plans impact 40B developments in town and other developments in town? And how, you know, maybe seeing how housing production plans might be affected by things like the ADUs. But I do think that maybe next time, if we could have a brief discussion of ADUs, that's the one that's literally happening in February, and people might need a little bit more help on, if anybody has any insight that we could use this forum to provide. The other topic that was suggested is prevailing wage regulations, which I think is a little harder to fit into what we do, other than to talk about what is the impact of prevailing wage regulations on the cost of the projects we fund. Unfunded mandates, again, that I think that's a question that may have to be better defined in terms of which mandates we're looking at as a council, and our role at looking at unfunded mandates regionally. So that, if whoever suggested that topic, maybe just give a little bit more around which mandates we're particularly concerned about.
I think the rest of these are all John Costas, the remaining. So John.
Okay, so John, maybe just add a little bit more on that.
Well, I'll go back in history very quickly. As far back as when I was a selectman, which was eons ago, I was trying to fight unfunded mandates from the state. And that's why I put this on the list. I know it's not something under our purview, but it's something we need to be aware of, and we should be, as a group, looking for ways to force the state not to do this. Puts tremendous burdens on the communities. Best example I give right now is what they're doing with the MBTA situation. And right now, two towns are fighting, Milton and Norton, are fighting the state over the housing regulations. I give them a lot of credit for taking a stand, but someplace along the way, we as communities need to take a stand and not allow the state to mandate what we're gonna do in our own towns. So that's the reason it's on there.
Okay,
And if I
but
go back to prevailing wages for a second, I was gonna use a conservative number until I talked to a local building inspector, and the cost to some projects, all municipal projects in this state must be done under prevailing wage regulations. That adds anywhere between 20 and 30% to every municipal job in this state. And
yeah, but John, I'm not sure that Old Colony Planning Council has any jurisdiction over either one of those issues, really.
we have no jurisdiction. I just want to put this in the back of people's minds. Every time we go out to bid for a project, it's going to cost us 20 or 30% more than because non-union, it's basically prevailing wages is union rates. There are
Right.
many contractors out there who may not pay union rates, or I just not. We'll just use it. They're not union shops, but they
No,
don't.
but that-
They don't want to bid
That
on these
doesn't mean
jobs.
I mean, that's the whole point of prevailing wages is that it keeps an even playing field, but it also means that people who do work in this state get paid a living wage,
That
regardless
doesn't
of
mean
whether
that's,
they're
I
in
don't
a
want to get into
union
the
or not.
context of how they're paid or not, because I know of one firm that does a lot of big jobs, and I know he pays his people very well, but they're not unionized.
Yeah, so that works with prevailing wage. That's the whole point.
And it doesn't
get
work. It
paid-
means he's going to, if he applies for a municipal job, they're going to pay their employees whatever the union rate is.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's no competitiveness in the bid. Everybody's using the same wages.
Okay, that's a whole different conversation. I really don't think that's, I don't think that's appropriate for Old Colony Planning Council to take on. The desal plant in Taunton is, that is something that's being looked at as part of the regional water study. So hopefully we could talk about that as part of the regional water
I think
study.
it's actually in Brockton. I don't believe it's in Taunton. Taunton gets their water from a different source.
It's actually, the desal is in, it goes through the piping. The desal plant is not in Brockton. It is in.
I thought it was
there's a
actually
desal
in
plant in
Warwick.
Brockton.
It's in Dayton.
Dayton, thank you.
Dayton. Yeah, so the desal plant is in Dayton, but it is owned by Brockton.
Correct.
So the
and it is-
desal plant is owned by Brockton, but they couldn't, there's no place to build it in Brockton, so it was built in Dayton on the Taunton River.
And just for your point that you had talked about, Madam President, is the fact that through the regional water study, from the town of Avon, it is, JB is, attends these and is part of at least listening and vetting out. So, perhaps John, if, I don't know if, let's put it this way, we're at the survey and the results of the study that has been happening for close to 2 years will be shared. And just because I know that John Costa brought this up, we can certainly share what we have so far for information. The water issue is regional, septic issue is regional, sewer issue is regional. So I guess with that listed just as that, John, maybe if there was a little guide in terms of a presentation on the water study. But I know that we have some minutes from those meetings that we can certainly share.
There was some talk of looking at the availability of sewers throughout the region, right? Wasn't that, Nick, wasn't that part of what you guys were looking at with
It's the next
EDA?
step for after water, but we have to get funding to do it. There is no funding right now to take up regional sewer.
Analysis or
There is not at this time.
understanding.
Correct.
Right. It would take a major study to even know where and how sewer is happening in the South Shore, other than town by town. So Nick, you are looking at that. We're looking at opportunities to talk about that. But right now we just don't have the resources or the funding to do it. Prescription drug advertising, again, I don't see how OCPC talking about that would further any goals of the council. It seems like that's a legislative issue that should be taken up with the legislature, I don't see what our role would be as OCPC.
I totally agree, Becky.
But any other issues, please put them in the chat or send a note to Mary or I. David Klein did put in the chat that it's a reminder to the council delegates and alternates that it's the final stretch for people to be able to take our community assessment survey for older adults and or the state needs assessment. These needs assessments are really important to bringing funding to our region and to understanding where, you know, when we talk about grants and funding, it's not just throwing money out there, right? The whole point is to focus it on where the needs are. So the more input and data we get on where the needs are, the better the money will be spent. So I would like to encourage people to take David's suggestion and put out there this link that's in our chat to talk about those surveys, because that's how we don't just get money back, but we get money back in a way that might actually be useful because we know what the needs are and we've defined them to someone. And minutes from the Regional Water Steering Committee can be found on the website. At least put a link there for that. And Charlie put a link to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Dashboard. So we have a tremendous amount of information. And John, I'm sorry, we can't, it's hard to expand our scope without getting money to do it, right? So some of the issues you want to talk about, it's like if we could get a funding source to be able to have staff look at it, we would have, you know, a broader, and Mary and I actually, I'll give a quick report. Mary and I went down to Plymouth County Commissioners on Thursday night, I think. And we've been trying to plan this for a while because we've been doing this dance with the county over the last couple of years and trying to work with them wherever possible. And Mary, maybe you want to quickly talk about some of that work. But the idea here is that the county, you know, for those of us living in Plymouth County, we have a county that can do some projects that can benefit our local communities. And there's other projects that OCPC can do. And the idea is to make sure that we're coordinating instead of both vying to do the same thing. We want to coordinate so we get as much efficient services to our towns as we can.
And I only would just piggyback that I brought it up to the staff when we met Tuesday. Lots of things. So, right, we're working with the county on the regional water study. We're working with the county on this food hub. And there's a lot more that we can do, applying for funding together. And again, 15 of our 17 communities are part of the Plymouth County. And that's a big piece of it. And now the fact that, you know, another piece that helps is also we're part of the, we'll become part of the OPEB system. So looking for ways where we can work together, staying out of their way when they are the lead on things, but again, in a way that is pretty unique. You know, again, finding funding and looking to sustain all the good work that's being done. So more work to be done on that.
Also, I want to let people know that there's going to be a special Old Colony Planning Council meeting on Wednesday, November 13th at 5:45 with our auditors to review the audit report. So anybody who's interested in making sure that we're spending the money well and that there aren't any issues with respect to the way we're accounting for that money. It's actually the latter that we're really talking about in the audit report. If there are any issues in the ways that we're accounting for the money and how we're using it. You also are welcome before that meeting to ask questions of our staff about particular budget areas, or to talk to Sean Noel or to Brenda Robinson about the audit and about our accounting practices. We're going to get a calendar invite to that this week, and all council members are welcome to attend. And we're all responsible for the accounting and the audit. So of all the things we do, we're trying to make it more interesting for delegates. We're trying to make it so that delegates can really have an impact on what the staff is doing and how it's helping our towns and what we want to push for OCPC to do to provide even more benefit. But at the end of the day, our fundamental responsibility is to make sure that our audit and our accounting is taking good care of the money that's being given to us. So I encourage everyone to attend that meeting if you can.
And Madam President, a copy of the draft will be sent well in advance to the members to give them proper review of the audit. So prepared with questions for the meeting on Wednesday, November 13th.
Perfect. And then the other thing is I just want to give a quick date reminder that we have the summit coming up on
December 4th.
December 4th. So everyone make sure December 4th is on your calendar with details to follow. That will be our meeting where we invite other people as well, and we give a whole presentation on what's happening at OCPC this year. And I hope everyone can make it because it's also a really nice time at the beginning of the holiday season for us to sort of connect in person, given that we spend most of our time on Zoom together. Anything else that anyone wants to bring up?
Charlie does.
Charlie?
Yeah, Madam President, if it's okay, I'd just like to chime back into an earlier agenda item, the
Sure.
honoring Paul Basler. I'd be remiss if we didn't offer comments on behalf of the staff here. I myself had worked with Paul for his entire career when he
Wow.
was superintendent in Kingston. From his early days when he took the reins of the Streets, Trees and Parks Department, Paul was a tireless advocate for the town of Kingston and its people and building a safe road network. He delivered transportation improvement projects such as the Route 27 project. There was the Elm Street Bridge reconstruction. Remember, and that was like a one-way traffic bridge, but that happened under Paul's tutelage in Kingston. But he was a tireless advocate for the town, and just can't say enough about his character. He cared about its people. He went to countless meetings where there were questions and people said, why can't we do this? And Paul was always there with a kind ear and his professional judgment. One of the things in Tom Bott's testimony to the planning board earlier this week was he called Paul the new generation of Carl Atwood. And those of you who knew Carl Atwood was Paul's predecessor in the town of Kingston. And he was a first-class highway director. And it was really an honor for Tom to reference Paul as this generation's Carl Atwood. And we would certainly agree with that. And just like to also note that Carl Atwood in his retirement actually worked for OCPC and did pavement management with us. So if down the road Paul's looking for some extra work, maybe we could make a connection and do some pavement management together. But Paul, he will be missed, but not forgotten. Later in his career, he did traveling to Europe and Switzerland and really got to enjoy, a second life, if you will. And it's not all about work. So it was wonderful to see him travel as well. But, in closing, it's also the partnership within the town of Kingston itself, with Val Massard and Paul. They were almost like the dynamic duo within the town, moving plans and programs together. And most recently was on the complete streets for Route 27 at 106. But, great partnership there. And really just like to thank Paul for all he's done for the town. So.
Thank you, Charlie. People spend their lives trying to help make our communities better, and it's really important to take this time to honor them. So thank you. Okay. Anybody have anything else? If not, then I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Stephen.
I'll second.
Thanks, Noreen. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.